All right, I'm back with a tip, or I don't know. So many people want to lose weight. I was totally there. I actually lost, roughly 90 to 100 pounds years ago, and I've pretty much kept it off. I've done a really good job, even through perimenopause and everything. And it was a lot of work, and it was hard. And you know what? I started my weight loss or fitness or health journey before there was even basically internet, pretty much, or before it was accessible for everybody. So I had to just, okay, literally, one of the things I did was go down to the library and check out, I kid you not, Richard Simmons exercise videos, because I knew that I had to get some movement into my life, and I already had two little kids at home, and that was all I could do. I was flipping poor, literally living in poverty. So I did what I could. I found some materials at the library, and then I read somewhere about, changing your plate and making half of it vegetables, basically, and then a quarter of it carbs and a quarter of it your protein. And I started just doing that. So I started eating way less pasta and way more salad. But that's how I started. And I think, number one, the biggest key for your journey is don't try to just do everything all at once. You're going to get overwhelmed, and it's going to be way too difficult and way too frustrating. It's okay to take one step, literally one step. I started walking my kids more. I would put one in the stroller and then my 2-year-old let him walk, and we would just start taking walks every day. I started doing stuff out in the garden, even if it was a rental house, and it wasn't my responsibility. I started going outside and getting fresh air and getting sunshine and getting more movement into my life and into my day. I started taking the kids on little adventures, anything I could walk to, because I didn't have a car and I was kind of bus dependent. Just little steps, literally. And then I made the food change, my portion change. I didn't change what I was eating, I just changed how I was eating. It went on from there. And actually, if somebody wants to reach out to me or put in the comments, we'll connect, because I can totally talk someone through my whole process. And it was long. But one other thing that I did, and this is kind of a consistent habit that I did throughout my journey until I reached a certain point, but I would make small changes in what I ate. And I will give you a really good example. So, one thing I did, for instance, was I stopped putting mayonnaise on my bread. Once I found out how many calories is in mayonnaise in 1 tablespoon, that's all I needed to see. I was like, holy smokes. So that's it. One change. I just didn't put it on my sandwich anymore. I used lots of mustard and then like tomato to get that moisture in there, but that was it. And I actually found myself enjoying my sandwiches just fine without the mayonnaise. Please, I'm not saying mayonnaise is bad at all, but that's one thing I did to very easily cut out at least 100 calories from my diet. So what I mean is, that's all I did for a while, just that. And then once I got into that habit and felt comfortable and said, okay, I can do this, I added something else. And then the something else was something like not putting that sugary coffee creamer in my coffee anymore, and instead only using half and half or cream. Not a giant change, but it was big enough because that saved me a lot in calories. And then that was probably like the next thing I did. It wasn't. I think there's another thing that's sticking out in my head that I did first, but I just went on from there. So that's probably one of the biggest things I can say that got me through my big weight loss journey. And actually, what I've learned is that doing these changes in small increments and having slower weight loss is more sustainable in the long run anyway. And I'll tell you what, it was not easy because sometimes it took weeks before I noticed any change on the scale or in my body. But we're going to talk a lot about maintaining your vision and manifesting what you want and what you dream about and stuff a lot. We're talking about it a lot on this channel. But I kept maintaining that vision, of what I wanted in my head. It's so funny because I had a goal and I reached it. And then once I got to there, I'm like, well, what's stopping me from going further? And my goal was, I just wanted to get back down to where I wasn't wearing 1X clothes anymore. Okay. So it was, and once I got to that place, I thought, well, heck, man, maybe there's something to this. But anyway, the point is, I kept that vision in my head and I would think about it all the time. Every time I stepped on the scale, I remembered what I was doing this for and that every little thing I'm doing was going to get me closer to my goal. But you know what? Every little thing I was doing was also creating a healthier me. And that was probably more important than anything else, because the thing that made me want to lose weight finally, and we're going to go back to this decide, commit, and succeed thing again, was one day when I came home off the bus, armfuls of groceries, and my 2 little kids with me. And we get to the bottom of the stairs up to our apartment, and my little 2-year-old takes off and runs up the stairs, which is totally fine because our apartment was the only one up there. But I was just like frustrated because I couldn't run up after him. I was stuck. Like I was in such bad health that I could only do some steps and then I would have to breathe and breathe. And I knew at that point that I had to make a change in my life. And that was it. I decided, that's it. I'm changing my life. I'm changing my body, period. Because I wanted to be able to stay up, with my kids. I wanted to be able to jog up the stairs just like my little guy and stay caught up with him. I wanted to be able to go to the playground with him and follow him around on all the play structures and be right there by his side playing with him. And that's when I decided. And then I committed to it. And once you commit to a vision, if you're doggedly determined about it or resilient or resolved, when I want to do something and I develop quite a resolve about it, it's going to happen. And I'm lucky because my health and my weight and my body was one thing that I did become very resolved about. So reaching your goals, that's another thing that has to come. You got to get so freaking frustrated that you're going to do something about it. Not so frustrated that you're going to beat yourself up over and over and over again. That's not the kind of thing that changes lives. It might temporarily, but you're going to be back right where you were. The kind of resolve that says, nope, not doing this anymore. I am fixing myself. I am not fixing, but I am taking control of my life in this area, and I'm going to make this change, period. It helps you get through the crappy days when the scale literally doesn't budge. It does. I mean, trust me. So anyway, that's my weight loss journey wisdom for today. I've got a lot more. All right. Bye.